What's really the difference between accidentally bumping into someone on the street and deliberately shoving them out of the way? Well, in the eyes of the law, that difference is absolutely everything. Today, we're going to dig into the two fundamental ingredients that turn a simple action into an actual crime: a guilty act and a guilty mind. Let's break down how the law makes that call.
So let's just jump right in with the big one. What is a criminal act? Now, it might seem obvious, but the legal answer has a lot of layers. It's not just about something bad happening. It's about the specific action and the state of mind that was behind it.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by defining what a crime even is. Then, we'll dive deep into those two key ingredients: the physical act, which is known in Latin as actus reus, and the guilty mind, or mens rea. And to wrap it all up, we're going to clear up a super common point of confusion: the difference between motive and intention.
All right, first things first. You might think a crime is just an act that hurts another person, right? Well, legally speaking, it's actually much bigger than that. A crime is defined as an act that harms society as a whole. It's seen as an offense against the public good.
What's so fascinating is seeing how different legal heavyweights have tried to pin this down. You've got Blackstone, who focuses on violating public law, then Salmond, who talks about harm to society. But you see how they all kind of land on the same core idea? A crime is a wrong so serious that the entire community, represented by the state, is the one that steps in to seek justice, not just the individual who was directly harmed.
So if a crime is a wrong against society, how does the law actually determine if one's been committed? Well, believe it or not, there's a fundamental formula, almost like a recipe for a crime, that's been around for centuries.
And that entire formula is just beautifully summed up in this foundational Latin maxim: actus non facit ream, nisi mens sit rea. This right here is the absolute bedrock of criminal law.
So what on earth does that mean in plain English? It's simple, but it's profound. An act doesn't make you guilty unless your mind is also guilty. This is it. This is the crucial line between accidentally tripping someone and intentionally pushing them down. The physical result might be the same, but the mental state changes absolutely everything.
And this brings us to the two halves of our crime equation. On one side, you have the actus reus. That's the guilty act itself. And on the other, you have mens rea, the guilty mind, or the criminal intent. For most crimes, a prosecutor has to prove both of these things exist beyond a reasonable doubt to get a conviction.
So let's break that down, starting with the first piece of the puzzle, the physical component, the actus reus. This is the part of the crime that you can actually see, the part that happens in the real world.
Now, the formal definition calls it the material result of human conduct that the law seeks to prevent. So listen to that language carefully. The really crucial word there is result. It's not just about the action you take, but about the prohibited outcome that the law wants to stop.
And this example just nails the distinction perfectly. The physical conduct might be the act of stabbing someone, but the actus reus for the crime of murder isn't the stabbing itself, it's the actual result, the death, the homicide. The law is focused on punishing that final outcome that society has said is unacceptable.
But proving that a specific act caused the illegal outcome isn't always a straight line. This is where lawyers get into something called the chain of causation. For instance, you can cause the actus reus without even being there, like by inciting a riot. Or what if you poison a drink, but someone else serves it? Who's responsible? The law has to carefully untangle this chain to connect a person's conduct to the final criminal result.
All right, so we've got a handle on the physical act, but that's only half the story, right? Now we have to explore the second, and honestly, often the more complicated component, the guilty mind, the mens rea.
Mens rea is all about what was going on in the defendant's head. Did they mean for the harm to happen? Did they even know it was a possibility? To figure this out, the law essentially asks two key questions. One, was the act voluntary? And two, did the person have any foresight of the consequences of their actions?
And here's what's so important to get. A guilty mind isn't just an on or off switch, it's really a spectrum. At the highest, most blameworthy level, you have intention. This is when you have a fixed purpose to make the bad thing happen. Right below that is knowledge. You might not desire the outcome, but you're aware that it's pretty much a sure thing. Then we get to recklessness. This is seeing a huge risk and deciding to take it anyway. Think of someone driving 100 miles an hour through a neighborhood. And finally, at the bottom, you have negligence, which is all about failing to see a risk that any normal, reasonable person would have seen. Each step down this ladder means a different level of legal guilt.
Now, to really lock in our understanding of the guilty mind, we have to make one more critical distinction. This is something that trips a ton of people up.
the difference between motive and intention. In the eyes of the law, they are not the same thing at all.
Okay, here's the absolute key takeaway. Intention is the aim of the act itself. Your intention is to crack the safe and take the money inside. That is a core ingredient of the crime. Motive, on the other hand, is the reason behind it all. Why did you want the money? To feed the poor. Now that may be a noble reason, but guess what? In court, it's irrelevant. The law zeroes in on your criminal intention to take the money.
There's this great legal analogy that says motive is the spring that pushes the intention into action. It explains why you decided to do what you did, but it doesn't change the fact that what you intended was criminal. And here's the bottom line. A good motive can never make an illegal act legal.
And all of this brings us full circle. The law won't punish you for just having a guilty mind. You need the guilty act to go with it. But that leaves us with this final, fascinating question to chew on. If just thinking about it isn't a crime, at what exact point does a guilty thought cross the line and become a criminal attempt? Where does the law step in between our imagination and our actions? That's a question that sits right on the edge of criminal law. Thanks for digging into this with me.